And welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We're going to keep pumping out Minnesota Vikings content here for you guys. And this is going to be our week 2 game preview against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll just kind of go over a couple pressing things that obviously the Vikings need to fix, or things that should be concerning going into this Cardinals game. And then we'll also give an X factor towards the end of the show here. So let's get started with it right away. Obviously, the number one concern from last week is the offensive line. Tons of penalties. Nobody really looked good, honestly, on the offensive line. Now they're going against Chandler Jones, who had 5 sacks last week. J.J. Watt is also playing. So do you have any sort of confidence that this offensive line is going to be able to hold up?
You know, this is always the hot topic in town once we're into the season, and it's always like, oh, did the offensive line get better this year? And it's just kind of the same old crap. But at this point, I have no reason to believe that they will hold up against two premier pass rushers like Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt, especially Jones coming off a 5-sack performance. I don't know what kind of explanation I would have to say that we will hold up, because we're already – to add on to this, we're already thin in the tight end room to the point where, like, Irv Smith got a lot better at blocking these last couple of years, basically ever since he joined the team. And I feel like adding him to the end of the line to help double team a guy like Chandler Jones on the left side with Rashad Hill, like that would probably help tremendously. And now with him out, that it's got further implications not only for the receivers but for the offensive line as well.
Right.
So I think this spells a lot of trouble for the Vikings this weekend in Arizona with just – there's too much to contain there, and I don't really think they'll hold up. I think it's going to be on probably, if I had to guess, probably the screen game, I guess. That's usually how you offset a good pass rush, the screen game. So if we can't get that going, then yikes, might be in for a long day.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think it makes me wonder almost if they'd use C.J. Ham more often, just have him in there to simply just line up as a tight end and block. I mean,
maybe.
I don't know if they think of him like that. I don't know. I feel like it wouldn't be a bad idea if you need someone to help out with Chandler Jones, because I have zero faith in Rashad Hill being able to hold that down. So
absolutely not.
I think that's going to be a disaster. But
Taylor Lewan's a really good left tackle, and he just got worse last week.
Yeah, exactly. And he came out after the game and said, like, thank you for kicking my butt. I played bad. And that's insane. You never see that in the NFL.
No.
So, and then obviously Garrett Bradbury was disappointing last week. I thought Ezra Cleveland was a little disappointing as well. Honestly, Oli Udoh pass protected pretty well, so that was encouraging. But he's a bigger guy, so I would think maybe pass protecting is more of his strength rather than, the run game. But, I don't know. Hopefully we're able to get Dalvin going a little more this game. I know that was a big struggle last week, which it really shouldn't have been against that Bengals defense.
No, we got to be able to get Dalvin going. Otherwise, we're not going to win a lot of games, because that definitely coincides with our successes. Dalvin's points usually win a lot of games, or Dalvin doesn't run for very many yards. So it's just the way this team is structured. Like, I don't think it should be like that, where it's that dependent on our running back performing to whether we win or lose games. Because obviously, watch teams like the Bills, like they just play the air raid, throw it all over the yard, and it doesn't matter how many carries they're giving Singletary or Zach Moss, like they still win the game. So, like, I feel like our offense shouldn't be that dependent, but it is. So we got to make do with what our offense. Make it what it is, and really find a way to get Dalvin some open lanes to run.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all, man. You gotta, for us, unfortunately, we have to run to set up the pass, and if you can't run, then you're kind of screwed. So
that's why Kirk sucks when Dalvin's out, because if Dalvin's not getting the run game going, play action isn't there, and then Kirk's not playing to his strengths.
Exactly. Yeah, it's extremely disappointing. But it kind of is what it is at this point. We kind of know what to expect. So
yeah.
Let's move on to the defensive side of the ball, though. Kyler Murray went off last week. I think he threw 4 touchdowns, maybe 5. Obviously, they got a very skilled receiver group with DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, and now rookie Rondale Moore, who is extremely fast. And I kind of worry, with our corners just being able to cover their guys. But do you think we're going to be able to keep Kyler Murray in check at all?
I think moderately. I think we'll do a better job than the Titans did, just because the Titans kind of set a low bar. But I think Kyler Murray's still going to have a day. Their receiver group, like you just mentioned, is just really versatile, because obviously you got the big body and DeAndre Hopkins, who's a top 5 receiver in this league, arguably one of the best, if not the best. And then now you got Rondale Moore, the rookie, mixing in there, because he's just a really quick guy. And you saw last week that we struggle with speed in receivers. Breland just got cooked against Jamar Chase because Chase was just straight up faster and he couldn't keep up with him. So this is kind of scary too, looking at this wide receiver room. But I'd like to think that our defense will get better week to week. I feel like Zimmer won't let Kyler just go wild, and it'll just come down to if our offense can produce enough against their defense. But I think our defense will do decent. It won't look pretty, but I think it won't look horrible either.
Yeah, I'm guessing we'll give up anywhere from 24 to 30 points. The offense is going to have to score, obviously, to win this game. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm really worried about those receivers burning our corners. It's kind of looking like Anthony Barr is probably not going to play again this weekend. So yeah, it's a bummer, but I don't know if they lose this game badly, it's not going to look very good for the GM, head coach, and even the quarterback.
Yes, everybody involved coming home 0-2 to the home opener. That's not how anybody pictured starting the season or what we need for them to keep their jobs, really. So I think that's got to be a little bit concerning for them. And if we lose this game for sure. But also another thing I'd like to add about Kyler here real quick is just him being able to move and run. Like, obviously we didn't see that last week with Burrow. Like, Burrow usually is a guy who can move a little bit, like when he needs to, but at the same time he's coming out that knee injury, and you saw he didn't really move that much. But we still got gashed enough times to just make it look a little rough. So then you factor in Murray being able to run, especially with the depleted linebacker room like we have. That kind of feels like a recipe for disaster too. Yeah. So our pass rush better be able to get home quick, but also keep them in the pocket and contain. Otherwise, that could be another element to the game that we just can't stop.
Yeah, Zimmer historically does not do great against mobile quarterbacks. Obviously, we got Russell Wilson coming up next week. Zimmer's never beaten him, so you're going to have to face Kyler and Russ back-to-back weeks. I mean, you can kind of have somewhat of the same game plan, I guess, but at the same time, they're both just extremely good, and they're going to be difficult to stop. So I'm looking forward to that chess match. I think hopefully, like you said, hopefully the defense has a little bit better showing. I feel like they'll do better against the run. They're going against Chase Edmonds, who isn't as good as Joe Mixon, obviously. So that should help at least a little bit. But Arizona likes to spread it out with a 4-wide at wide receiver, stuff like that. So the good old Cliff Kingsbury Big 12 offense, air raid.
Yes.
Who is your X factor for this game for the Minnesota Vikings?
There's a lot of directions we could go with this. I think there's a lot of different guys, a lot of different things really I could call on, but I gotta say Justin Jefferson's involvement in this offense, because like you mentioned, I think our defense might be able to contain Arizona more than Tennessee did, but at the same time, they're still going to score their points, so we're going to have to be able to trade touchdowns. And if we're not getting Justin Jefferson involved enough in the offense, like last week, I didn't think we did a good enough job. So if we do more of the same this week, there's no way we're going to win, because I think Jefferson's going to have to be a big part of our success on offense if we're really going to get up there and trade scores with Arizona. So I think really it's on Justin Jefferson, but at the same time, it's more to do with everything around Justin Jefferson and just get him the ball, whether that's Kubiak drawing up plays that are designed to go Jefferson, or Kirk literally just throwing the ball, our offensive line protecting Kirk enough to basically connect with Jefferson on these long developing plays that Jefferson can run out and catch a deep ball. But I gotta say Justin Jefferson's involvement in this offense.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. They need to get him the ball more simply. I mean, we all saw what happened with Stephon Diggs. We don't want that to be repeated again.
No.
I know Justin Jefferson seems like a nice kid, seems like he's got his head on straight, but Diggs was that way at one point too. So
exactly, and I was going to throw out there real quick too with for all the vintage Vikings fans out there going all the way back to the Tyson Moss days, like there was the such thing as the Randy ratio, and we're going to throw the ball to Randy a lot, and I feel like the same thing should be true with Justin Jefferson here.
Yeah, that's kind of another issue I have with Zimmer, though, is he just doesn't care. He doesn't care who you are. It could be DeAndre Hopkins, and he wouldn't care. We're going to run the ball. Like, Dalvin is our focal point, and which I don't agree with. But my X factor, it's tough. I could pick any of the corners.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Mackenzie Alexander because he'll be covering Rondale Moore. And I simply just don't think anybody on this defense is fast enough to cover him. So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole dynamic plays out, because I could see a guy like that just absolutely going off against us on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. If you got Cliff Kingsbury watching the film on us from last week and seeing how we couldn't contain speed guys like Jamar Chase. And Chase is fast, don't get me wrong, but Rondell
Yeah.
Moore takes it to another level. So if he sees that and game plans more for Moore to get involved a lot, like that could be make it a long day for our DB room. So that's a little bit scary. So hopefully we'll be able to keep that in check if we're going to have any chance in this game. But
Yep.
I'd also add, going a little off script here, I would say, what's the impact of Pat P coming home here for his first game back in Arizona, and how do you think he's going to do?
Yeah, that's going to be extremely interesting. I almost picked him, but because he's going up against DeAndre Hopkins, who's obviously still one of the best wide receivers in the league. I think he'll do okay. I'm guessing Hopkins is still going to have a decent game. But yeah, he's going to be fired up. I mean, this is probably the game that he has circled on his schedule for sure. He did a good job last week against the Bengals. I know there's this viral video going around of Jamar Chase crossing him up, but that happens to every corner. So he didn't catch the ball on that play, so who cares?
It's one route.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty happy with how Peterson played. I think he only allowed like one catch for like 3 yards or something. Like I never heard his name all weekend. So hopefully he's able to bring that into this week as well. I mean, he was covering Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins for the most part, and those are good receivers. So
they're both very good last year. I mean, as far as I know, they're the top fantasy receivers. I want to say, depending on the league you're in, obviously, but they're like top 15 fantasy receivers.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think he's still got some game left. I don't think he's washed by any means. So yeah, hopefully he does a good job. But DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best in the league, so it's hard to expect him to shut him down for sure.
Exactly. Let's see if Pat P can infuse some energy into this team to get excited to go to Arizona, just because he's going to want this game a lot.
Yes, exactly. One last thing here. Obviously, we're going to have to give a score prediction. So
yes.
What are you feeling for Sunday?
I want to say we're going to win. The homer in me thinks we're going to bounce back and go home 1-1 and honestly be satisfied with where we're at after losing against Cincinnati in week 1. But at the same time, I got to say we're going to lose. But Vegas is telling me the spread on this one's 3.5. So I'm thinking they usually know what's up. So I'm going to say it's going to be pretty close. And I'm going to say we lose this game. I'm going to say 31-28.
Okay. Nice. I am down on this team. Like I'm very down on this team. I was kind of down on this team before the season even started, like we talked about before, just the whole weird month of August that they had. Clearly there's some dynamic going on between Kirk and Zimmer that is not positive. Mm-hmm. I expect last week's issues to linger into this week, and I'm going to say we lose 31-17. I think we lose by 2 touchdowns in this game, and I think it's going to be a very, very much of a black eye on Mike Zimmer's resume. It's not going to be pretty after this game. I think Zimmer's going to be pretty upset, and you're going to might see him throwing some people under the bus after this game. That's going to be my prediction as well.
Yeah, that's possible. I could definitely see him come out firing in the press conference. So you never know what's going to happen.
I mean, hopefully we're wrong, and they can somehow pull out this win and get back home at 500, and then have a nice little home stretch. But I'm not banking on it. So yeah, it's just the way this team's looking right now.
Absolutely, this would be a huge win if we can get it. It's just going to be a pretty tough one to get.
Yeah, it'd be a nice confidence builder for sure against a young, up-and-coming team with a good quarterback. So, I mean, it's the NFL. Anything can happen, but
exactly. Any given Sunday.
Exactly. So, you never know. That's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to hit that like button on this video. Hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't already. Feel free to give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram, and leave your comments below for your score predictions for this week's game, your X factors, just how you're feeling about this week's game in general. So thanks for watching.